Sports Network.
Welcome in. It is Dynasty Nerds. It is the Better Sports Network. Man, the best combination on earth. It's like peanut butter and jelly, right? It's like football and beer. It's like ballpark and nachos and hot dogs. Like it's a great combination. It's Thursday night, and we established a couple weeks ago that Thursday night has kind of become like the new night for all the good things to drop and launch. And in just 2 weeks, we will be launching the NFL draft here. We will be a part of it. I cannot wait. One of my favorite, I shouldn't just say night, one of my favorite weekends all year long is the weekend of the NFL draft. So I am extremely, extremely excited to get to do that. We have a super special show planned for tonight. Here's one of the guys joining me, Peter Bartausky. Pete, how's it going, buddy?
It's going great. I'm trying to get Sleeper up on my computer right now, but other than that, Washington Commanders kind of sounds like we're sold. So
sounds like
that's
you're going to
great
Magic
news.
Johnson.
Yeah. So overall, I'm doing great today. How are you doing?
I'm doing good, man. And if you can get the draft up on your computer, let me know because we're having issues with it on our end. So we might share your screen if that's the case, because there's something with the website where the captcha is not working.
That's happening on my end too. That's what I'm trying to do. So I can only access it via mobile right now.
Right. And of course, via mobile, we can't share our screens. So this is just kind of the theme of the Dynasty Nerd Show on Better Sports Network. Every time like things are going well, something technologically has to go wrong in order to just crash it and burn. That's just what we do. But our good friend Tyler producing the show behind the scenes, he has been kind enough. Listen to this, Peter. This guy says he's going to manually type things up for us as the show goes.
That's boss.
What a good dude, right?
Yeah.
Like wow. What kind of producers are doing? Like, they're wanting to kick back and enjoy and relax the show. He's like, no,
Jared wouldn't do that for sure.
Jared would never do that. He would just sit in his chair in his ivory tower, and he would just cast shame on us because we didn't get it to work. That's exactly what he would do. Dennis Bennett will be joining us as well. He hosted the show last week. I tuned in for like 5 minutes, so I didn't get to like really see much of it. Peter, did you see the show with Dennis last week?
I saw about 5 minutes too, but I was out and about doing. I think I was at a youth football game coaching or something like that. Something was happening on Thursday. Yeah, just it's under 12 flag football, but it's in the South, so it's intense. I actually have coached 9 seasons.
I didn't know this. How did I not know this, Peter?
I don't know, but it gets pretty intense. Last year we had to call cops on people, and we had people file police reports. No, happily not me. The worst I've ever received was a warning from a ref, and I was like, oh, okay, I won't. I'm sorry that you called five downs instead of 4 downs, but
like I mentioned, Dennis will be joining us here momentarily. We have the draft full. These people are ready to go, but I don't want to start and then Dennis doesn't get to draft. Because I would be, but it looks like I see the green bubble up for him. Do you see the green bubble too?
Yeah, but it's hard to tell. He could be trying to log in via desktop too.
It's true. He said he had to pick up his kid from baseball, and so he was running a little bit late, but he's going to be on. So seeing the green bubble.
Can I talk about your hair for a second? It seems longer than usual. What's up with that?
I mean, maybe it's a little bit longer.
It looks great still, but
I don't think it's too much longer. I got it cut right before vacation.
Okay.
I think you guys saw it on the last show.
It's because you're tan.
It's the tan that's throwing you off.
Yeah.
I'm not.
You were wearing a lot of sunglasses, weren't you?
I was wearing some sunglasses, so it's a little bit lighter on the eyes than it is. The funny part is. Yeah, dude, I got fried. I burned.
Really?
So, dude, my entire forehead peeled off. Like my entire, like from here to here, like all of it just peeled off. You could see, I don't know how well you could see it right now, but like my arms, like all of this is like peeling and stuff. Like, dude, my chest was like, dude, I looked like a snake.
Were you going around shirtless at Disney World?
This was from like one of the days on the beach. We did go to Disney. I did not walk around shirtless in Disney though.
Okay.
But this was from one of the days on the beach. So what I'm seeing here,
guns out.
Tuckleberry Finn says Chase for Waddle and Wilson. Should I cash in on Chase? I think I would take Waddle and Garrett Wilson there. I know Jamar Chase is a stud, but that's two young receivers.
Is that Garrett Wilson or Russell Wilson?
That's a great question. I think I would.
Yeah, that's no question for me with Waddle and Wilson. If those are the wide receivers, but to me, that seems like someone would try to kind of like, oh, you need a quarterback.
Yeah,
Garrett. Okay,
it is Garrett. Done and done.
Yeah,
done and done.
Have fun.
Live it up. And we need a faux hawk next week. I could maybe.
I could maybe do something if you have me on next week.
I can make that work.
We could do matching faux hawks.
Faux hawk brothers. All right, let's get this thing going. So what we have here, it is a super flex, no tight end premium, just a regular tight ends, but a super flex rookie draft. We're going to be breaking down these picks live. We're going to be talking about the picks we like, the picks we don't like, all that kind of stuff. We got a couple other. We'll take some trade talk real quick before we start.
Yes,
what about Chase for Waddle and Higgins? I would do that as well. I have T. Higgins in a slightly lower tier than Wilson, but not enough to change it. I would still do that deal.
I would hold out for Wilson though. If you can get Wilson, I would love
Wilson. That. Norvell says I give Terry, Sky Moore, and 201, and I get JK 109. Algier is my only running back. What do you think? I'm assuming that's Terry McLaurin.
Yep.
So Terry McLaurin, Sky one.
Is this a 12-teamer?
Okay. I don't know. If it's a
12-team.
Look at this guy. He even made it like what would you call that?
A table.
A table. Thank you. That's the correct term.
Yep.
But as far as that goes, I think I would do that for JK and 109. Heavy T, our producer, says shout out to Google Docs. All right. Well, so he's gonna keep track of this live on Google Docs for us. He's gonna be watching as we go. So there's 60 seconds on these clocks. There might be times where, if Peter or Dennis or myself, if we're talking a bunch, might pause it real quick just to be able to finish our thought and then resume it. You guys have done these before with us, probably. I know you guys have done some with Peter. He's been doing a lot of mocks recently. So you guys probably
over 70.
You've done over 70 mocks.
Over 70 since January. And a lot of those have been startups.
I think this is a touch grass situation.
My wife didn't fully comprehend what a mock draft was, and she asked me like, what's a mock draft? And I was like, well, it's like a fake draft for fake football.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah, it doesn't sound great when you put it that way.
It doesn't, but it's fun and people love it.
There you go. Mark asks 1 QB 10-team league, T-Law at quarterback, Akers and Najee at running back, Jefferson and D. Smith at wide receiver, Pitts at tight end, Jerry Jeudy, Drake London, DPJ at flex. I send 107 for David Montgomery. Should I?
Nope.
I would not. It is close because in 1 QB,
close.
It is. Well, think about it. In 1 QB, all of a sudden you take out 4 guys that would have gone ahead. I don't love this wide receiver class.
I hate this wide receiver class.
It's not a good receiver class. So we're looking at Bijan, JSN, and then probably Gibbs, Spears, A-Chain, Charbonnet. Then after that, you're taking the next best receiver. So you still have 2 picks till you pick there.
So I'm looking at a mock that we recently did.
Mm-hmm.
And Charbonnet went 8th. Johnston went 7th.
Okay.
Downs went 9th. Kincaid went 10th. Zay Flowers went 6th.
Okay. Yeah. So I wouldn't, but it is close for me.
Okay.
I don't know that David Montgomery is significantly worse, especially if it's a contending team. I don't know that Montgomery is significantly worse than the 107.
Sense.
But I would still take the 107. I think you can get more for that. All right. All right. We'll do a couple more picks. Dennis, there he is. What's up, buddy?
At Culture Coach.
Can you hear me? I don't think you can hear me.
Nolan, I get super nervous if I sit down. You don't want that. And also my chair is really squeaky.
All right. Steve. All right. So we'll get Steve and Mike D's question real quick, and then we'll start this mock draft. Peter, could you put in the chat, in case somebody in the chat of the mock draft isn't aware that we're doing it live on here, can you put the YouTube link that we're on in that chat so they can follow it?
I could. I think if you're not the creator, links get blocked though. I can try though.
Okay. If so, it's no big deal. Dennis cannot hear us. He's deaf. Dennis
still looks great though.
He does look great. He does have that like old guy confused by technology look though. That's what it looks like's happening here. All right. Yep. Steve F saying, I have 101, 104, and 112 defending champ at a tight end premium super flex. Should I try to get a tight end or reach for Hooker at 112? No second round picks. In tight end premium, I'm probably taking a tight end there. I do like Hooker. We'll see what happens in the NFL draft. If he gets first round draft capital, that might be enough to change things for me. But right now, guys like Kincaid, guys like Musgrave, Mayer, like those guys, I would still probably rather have above Hooker unless Hooker gets that first round or super early second round where it looks like he has a real chance to start early on. Last one, Mike D took it. Hey, boys, 1 QB league, 12 teams, traded for the 104, or traded the 104 for 106 and 110. Thoughts? I'm torn on this one. What are your thoughts, Pete?
So it's tough because the 104 is going to get you. Oh man, in a 1 quarterback league, the 104 could kind of be that tier break. You know, because JSN's going to be gone, Robinson's going to be gone, Gibbs is going to be gone. So
I think I like it because I don't know that whoever I'm going to get at 104, because at that point we're taking either the second best receiver, which I don't love any of them yet. We'll see once I finish my scouting the receivers this week, and then basically A-Chain, Spears, Charbonnet. All 3 of those guys are in a very similar tier, and you're going to still get one of those guys plus 110. So I think I like that trade.
Yeah, 100%.
Cool,
and there's still so many question marks. Where do you think Spears gets drafted?
I think the safe money is mid to early 3rd, but I would really love to see him get picked late 2nd.
Oh man, if he does that, oh man.
Yeah, but I think safe money is mid to early 3rd. Dennis, can you hear us yet?
Yes, I can.
Hey, there he is. Dennis, so I got to watch like 5 minutes last week. So I didn't get it was when you were talking to Dan Toomey. So I didn't get to watch a ton, but how did last week go?
I thought it went pretty well. You know, Tyler would probably be the real arbiter, but I didn't run out of content. So that was good.
That's a start.
Dan, we went through some landing spots. See, Tyler saying it did go well. So, all right. You know, it's a little different tonight. I was able to play my sidekick card and show up a little late watching my kid. He just got a brand new bat yesterday, and I was hoping to see him bat, and he got a heavy bat. He's big. Yeah. And so I said, dude, you got to go up. You need a heavier bat. he was clocking him to the outfield with the regular. Now the coach was throwing meatballs, but he hit pretty well.
That's really impressive. He could hit a meatball that far?
Oh man, you should see it.
I would just splatter.
He's got really soft hands.
Dinger derby time. Okay, I think it's time we finally start this draft. So I am going to hit start mock draft. Things are going. Tyler's doing it manually for us. I mean, what more can you ask from a guy? Manually doing this draft. Unfortunately, we could not get Sleeper's website's literally down. Like, its CAPTCHA isn't working. I don't know what to do. And he's just stepped in. Not all heroes wear capes, folks. So this is a super flex, not a tight end premium, though. So it's a super flex league. We're going 6 rounds. Or no, I lied. We're going 5 rounds. I set it up. I don't even know how many rounds we're going. We're going 5 rounds.
101.
Robinson went 101, which is expected.
Surprise.
Yeah. With everything, it will be a shock if he doesn't go 101. I think the only way I could really see him not is something really spicy happening with Anthony Richardson and people get super high on him with that. I think that's the only way, but still for me, I got to play it safe. I'm taking Bijan. Anthony Richardson just went 102 above the other quarterbacks. Do you guys agree with that? Because I think on upside would say that's a great pick. I think on floor, that's a crazy risky pick. What side of that fence are you guys on?
How many pieces of candy have I had? It's well, I don't drink anymore. So.
Is that the PG version of that?
Yeah. So I don't have an argument against it because it's the total upside play. I'm not sure that I would do that because I want to have a little more stability. I think you don't want to miss on your early picks. Rookie drafts are a little bit different, and there is a ton of upside with Richardson, but only starting 13 games. We've seen that with Trey Lance and Mitch Trubisky and Achilles Smith. The story goes on and on and on. But sometimes you're going to hit, and you don't hit unless you take a shot. So I'm not arguing against it, but I think I would go more for CJ Stroud. I like the upside there. I think he has all the tools. He is mobile. He can run, but he doesn't run with the dynamic ability of a Anthony Richardson.
I am arguing against it.
You're arguing against it?
So,
right,
okay, why? Hold me to this. I'm going to try. This is the ultimate impossible challenge for fantasy football rookie drafts.
Okay.
I will not say the word ceiling or upside.
Okay.
This whole show. Okay.
Really?
I say it way too much.
Okay.
We'll see how long I can make it.
I'm projecting. Dennis, let's set the over under at 25 minutes. What are you taking? Over under?
I'm going to take the under.
There it is.
Okay, chat.
25 minutes from now or 25 minutes after 9, because I'm going to start, trying to lead him into it.
There you go. Yeah, we're gonna set him up.
So, okay. Biggest thing with Richardson for me is I keep seeing people compare him to Cam Newton.
Mm-hmm.
And the difference between him and Cam Newton is the mentality behind it. Like, mentality with quarterback is super important. Cam Newton is that guy, and Richardson is a really nice guy. He's soft-spoken. I haven't talked to him, obviously, but he doesn't strike me as an alpha like Cam Newton was. Also, okay. Cam Newton led a team to the national championship.
He did. So, he also didn't play a lot of games either, though. Remember, he was a JUCO guy that went to Auburn.
But he led them to a national championship.
He did.
That. Richardson, to me, he went 0 for 16 in a half this last year. So the floor, one thing that people do not mention about him very much is that he does hit his checkdowns very well. Honestly, there's been a couple times that I kind of wish that he ran a little bit more. But to me, he's just such a projection. I am having a hard time figuring out who I would pick, him or Levis. Still.
Oh, wow. I mean, I understand.
I don't struggle with that myself.
I don't either. I'm definitely going Richardson there.
Yeah.
At that point,
the
juice is worth the squeeze. But the other quarterbacks are so safe, and I am team like don't miss in the first round, especially the first half of the first round. So the other quarterbacks would definitely go ahead there.
So I am also team don't miss in the first round, so you can unpause it now.
Okay, I was literally about to say that, so that works out.
I am going for Jackson Smith and Njigba, and I am not missing. I'm getting
you're not.
A very good wide receiver, and I'm very happy.
No, he's fantastic. I think that's a really good pick. I wouldn't have blamed you for going with Levis there, but I think Smith and Jigba, we covered him on the Dynasty Nerds podcast last night. Episode came out today. He's so good. He's so freaking good. If he had the speed of some of the other guys, we would be talking about him in the same breath as Chase and Smith and CD as prospects. Like we really.
My comp for him is Cooper Kupp.
I don't hate that at all.
It's super high end, but I look at that speed, but I also look at that route. He was the only wide receiver that I saw on his tape consistently point out cornerback back blitzes to the quarterback and was able, just super smart like that. No, I love him.
All right, so I'm going to pause it real quick here. Catch us up on what's happened in the draft so far, and then talk about my pick here. So we've got Bijan Robinson, Anthony Richardson, Bryce Young, CJ Stroud. So the running back and then 4 quarterbacks in a row. Peter stopped the quarterback run with Jackson Smith and Jigba. Then Jahmyr Gibbs. Will Levis went to just Josh at pick 7. Culture Coach, you just took Charbonnet. What makes you like Charbonnet over some of these other picks here?
I was looking at Charbonnet or Zay Flowers. They were the 2 guys that I would have been considering there. And I thought, at the, what am I, the 108, I'm a playoff team. And early on, I'm looking for receivers to build around, quarterbacks to build around, unless there's a game changer running back like Bijan. I think Charbonnet has all the tools to be a 3-down back. If he doesn't get a 3-down landing spot, he's going to be a 2-down back, which will be beneficial. Or maybe he's the 3rd-down back and goal line guy. The options are unlimited for him and his skill set. Great size, can pretty much do it all. And I decided to go running back over Zay Flowers. They were really the 2 guys I would have been considering there.
Yeah. No, I understand it. I struggle with all the receivers right now. And really, I put myself at 10 because I knew it was going to be a range that I didn't love. And so I wanted to have to talk through my thought process here of the route that I'm going to go. So if you listen to the show, you know that I'm not a big Johnston fan. Flowers, I haven't done my deep dive on him yet. I do like some of the things I've seen from him, but the size does concern me. Josh Downs, I'm a big Josh Downs fan. I know he doesn't have great size either, but he is built differently than some of these other shorter receivers, much thicker, and he's very efficient in everything that he does. Really like the way that he plays the game. A-Chain and my boy Spears are both here, 2 guys that I also like. But the route that I'm going to end up going, and I'm going to make Dynasty Rich proud, is I'm going to take Dalton Kincaid here because it's so hard to get a good tight end. And look, maybe this will take 2 years, 3 years to develop. I'm willing to wait on that because there's no one else here with the possibility of Spears. Probably what I would be doing in real life is I'd be trading back 3 or 4 spots and then taking Spears. But I don't think that there's anybody else here that has the type of ceiling, but also the safety of floor that Kincaid has. So Kincaid ends up being the pick for me here at 110. Dennis, I know you're not a tight end early guy. Is Kincaid good enough to change your mind or no?
I've got 20 dynasty teams. I'm sure he's going to find his way in the late first onto a couple just for, market share reasons. I'm going to take a couple shares, I'm sure. I like what he brings to the table. Him and Musgrave both are, receiving threats in the Mark Andrews mold. But I'm still most often I'll probably defer to a wide receiver or a running back. But I do like Kincaid just fine.
What about you, Peter? Would you have done something a little different there? Like I said, I would have probably traded down 2 or 3 picks and taken Spears, but Kincaid there, or is that too early for him?
No, I like going for the home run there at the tight end position. I think you look at all the other positional players there; they're not offering that same. I'm trying to think of another word that I can use, but Kincaid can be the tight end one.
He doesn't have the he doesn't have the lack of floor that some others
yeah
have, right?
Yeah.
Well, he does have a floor, but he also has a very high floor.
It's the top of his game. Do you think it's closer to like midpoint on the wall, or like the roof?
Yes, he has a very high roof. Like one of those triangle ones. But no, I really like him. And
vaulted
if he
ceilings.
goes where we think he will, no, I can't say that. I can say vaulted. I think if he goes where we think he will in the draft, it's a no-brainer right there. There's the worries about Noah Fant. You got all those kind of tight ends that are athletic, but he's just so refined, and he's just a really good wide receiver. He reminds me an awful lot like Pitts, but just without the excessive athleticism. But to be honest, Pitts just kind of strikes me as overkill sometimes. Like you don't need to be able to run a 4 or whatever he ran.
Look, I'll take my Ferrari to get groceries anytime I want.
Yep.
All right.
I mean, I would take Pitts over him. Let me be clear, but.
All right, let me catch everybody up on where we're at. So after Kincaid, Zay Flowers and Josh Downs went back to back. I know that's something that people will be debating a lot between those two guys in this draft. Then Quentin Johnston fell to the second round. I don't know about you guys. This is my first time personally seeing him fall to the second. Have you guys seen that yet?
Latest I saw him go is 112.
Okay, so people have been listening to the Nerd Show, and they said, you guys are right, and they let him fall. Jalen Hyatt went there at 2-2, 2-3, Michael Mayer, and then Hendon Hooker at 2-4. I was hoping that he would just fall to 210. I thought it was unrealistic, but I was hoping. So Peter, that puts you back on the board, my man.
Yep, easiest pick. Unpause it.
Unpause it. All right, it's unpaused.
Boop.
There you go. You got my boy. You got Spears. Great value. Like I said, I would have traded to 112, 201, back a few spots, picked up some draft capital, maybe a second round next year to get Spears around there, around 201 or so. But him falling to the 205, I think is great value. And A-Chain at 206, I think is not far off either. I think he's really good value. Look, both players are not your traditional running backs, but what some of the things that they can do are truly difference makers and are truly special. So I'm going to count on those traits and those abilities at that point. Darnell Washington went, and then Culture Coach took my boy. I was really hoping he fell a couple more spots. My number 4 running back in the class right now, Tank Bigsby. Great pick there, Dennis. What made you want him at this point over some of these other guys that were available?
If I was picking at 111, 112, and it was between him and Kincaid, I may very well go Bigsby. He's an old school running back. He's a big bodied, 210, 6 foot, has pretty good lateral movement, decent acceleration, not overly fast, but he's quick enough, has enough wiggle. And, he played on some really, really terrible teams for all 3 of his years at Auburn. And he was the show there. Everybody knew it. Did he put up 1,500 yards? No. But he played well. And I think he, in the passing game, he caught enough passes. Most of them were the check down variety. He wasn't really a factor in the passing game. But he caught the ball well enough. I think with some work, he could probably provide some of that. There'll be somebody like a Devin A. Chain that comes in and probably works that role on whatever team he's on.
Right.
But there'll be times when they don't want to change out, that the team won't want to dictate, hey, all right, we're going to pass now. We put in the 1B back. I like Bigsby. I think he at RB4. I'm on board.
Yeah, I'm jealous that you were able to get him there. Like I said, I was really wanting him to fall to 210 there, and I think everything you said was really accurate. Great downhill runner. We're talking about, of all of the drafted running backs, or the draft eligible running backs this year, Auburn's offensive line had the worst PFF grade out of all of them this year. I mean, he had legitimately no help. And he was still able to do things, not tons of things, but you would still see solid runs against teams like Alabama, teams like big physical defenses with guys going to the NFL. You would still see him do things. So I'm a big fan of it. Mike D asks, I see a lot of people down on Bigsby lately. What makes him your RB4? First of all, there's not a lot of guys in this class that could profile as 3-down guys. I don't know that he will. In fact, the only one that I would project being a 3-down guy is Bijan at this point. But he has the capability to be able to do all three things. And I really liked his vision in the second level. I thought he did a great job at being able to see holes and then hit it quick. His patience needs a little bit of work, but I'm okay with it because he is a downhill runner. It's one cut, and I'm getting upfield. He's not trying to bounce it outside all the time, which there's a lot of backs in this class that really like to bounce everything outside, which at times is good. But I think he is a very underrated back. We're talking about a high 4-star back, one of the top, I think he was running back 5 or 6 in his class coming out of college. So he was a highly rated college recruit as well. And look, if he had done what Evans did, what Gibbs did, and he went to what would be perceived as a better situation, I think he would have put up ridiculous numbers. He stuck with his team. I think that hurt him in some senses, but I think that just adds value to him. Peter, anything else on any of these picks that we've seen here in the second round so far?
Well, so with Tank, he needs to go to a good team with a good coaching staff. It's kind of crazy seeing. It's in little ways, but you see how he's regressed from like last year to the year before, especially even with like pass catching. He looked off with his pass catching last year. I heard potential with injury, or I don't know, just he was playing through something, but also just a terrible offensive line, like you guys were saying. But my biggest worry is that he will need to unlearn some things. I think he's picked up some habits of just trying to survive behind that offensive line. And if he is able to land in a good landing spot and just soak up I would love him on the Rams.
Yeah.
Something like that there is a starter, but I mean, the Rams staff don't, they're particularly in love with Cam Akers. Yeah.
No,
and he's in his final year of his contract, so
yeah,
that's a beautiful landing spot.
I really like him. I would actually say, Fork, that my comp personally is Cam Akers before his Achilles.
He's got much better vision than Akers.
He does have better vision. I agree with that.
Okay, Dennis.
But the size speed part, I get. They're a similar size, similar speed. But yes, Akers' vision was doo-doo butter.
Bad.
Everyone is unique.
Everyone is unique. Well, this break's about to be unique because we are going to take a quick break. And when we get back, I will finally make my second round pick. I will reveal it to you all. So make sure you tune back in here on the Better Sports Network.
Monday Night Rants with Edward Rouse on Better Sports Network.
Do you believe in the Madden curse? Do you think that's a real thing?
I did. Now, I don't think it's as big of a deal anymore, but it was a real thing for a solid 10, 15 years.
Yeah, it was Sean Alexander, LaDainian Tomlinson, Peyton Hillis.
Well, LT was never on the cover. I know that.
Was he
never
not?
on the cover.
I thought he was one. Okay, well, you do know all the covers of everything.
Yeah. Okay. So if you want, I could do this real quick. So Garrison Hurst is the first official Madden cover athlete, 1999. 2000, I believe they still put John Madden on the cover, and then 2001 is where it all started. So 2001, you have Eddie George. 2002, Dante Culpepper. 2003, Marshall Falk. 04, Michael Vick. 05, Ray Lewis, first defensive player on the cover.
Okay.
06, Donovan McNabb. 07, Sean Alexander.
Okay.
08, Vince Young. 09, Brett Favre.
Okay.
10 is a trick one because it's
No way you know.
and Larry Fitzgerald. 11, Drew Brees. 12, Peyton Hillis. 13, Calvin Johnson, I believe so.
You're right.
14,
No way you know all this.
14, also a trick question. I believe that's the Madden 25 cover, and it's Barry Sanders, unless you got it for the new consoles, in which case Adrian Peterson
Oh my God.
was on the cover.
You're not cheating. You're not looking at.
Swear on my life. Swear on my life.
Okay. Keep on going.
15, you have Richard Sherman.
Okay.
16, hold
Oh.
on. 16 is Odell Beckham.
Okay.
16. 17, now this is the one I get mixed up because 17 and 18 are back-to-back Patriots.
They are.
17, I think, is Gronk, and 18 is Brady.
You are correct.
19 is Antonio Brown.
Correct.
20, Patrick Mahomes.
Oh my goodness.
21, Lamar Jackson. 22, Brady Mahomes. 23, John Madden. But yeah, dude, I'm a cover nerd when it comes to this stuff.
We now know, but that was really impressive. I don't know how.
Thank you.
That's literally 29 of them or something like that. Wow, that is. You did not miss a single one, and you even got the special editions where they had 2 people on the covers.
Monday Night Rants on Better Sports Network.
And welcome back in. It is the Dynasty Nerds. It is our mock draft. We are deep into the second round now at this point. And so far, real quick recap: Bijan Robinson, Anthony Richardson, Bryce Young, CJ Stroud, Peter Wentworth, Jackson Smith, and Jigba at 1-5. Jahmyr Gibbs, Will Levis, Zach Charbonnet to Dennis Bennett. Jordan Addison, I took Dalton Kincaid at 110. Zay Flowers, Josh Downs. And then into the second round, Quentin Johnston, Jalen Hyatt, Michael Mayer, Hendon Hooker, Tajay Spears to my dismay at 2-5. Devin A. Chain, Darnell Washington. Then my other favorite, Tank Bigsby, went to Culture Coach. And then Cedric Tillman here at pick 2-9. So I am back on the clock now. And I am going with a running back that I do really like, but a guy that was a backup. Roshan Johnson.
Yes.
Roshan Johnson here at 210. Here's a player that, watching him play, there wasn't anything that was elite. But that being said, there are so many points of his game that are really, really solid. Kind of reminds me, and not that they're the same player at all. So don't take this comp as a stylistic or a player comp, but a player that can do a lot of things well and will be a consistently good player for a while. Alexander Mattison from the Minnesota Vikings. Like, that's the type of role that I see him having for a long time. And you're saying, well, in the second round, you don't want a backup running back. Well, he's a backup running back that has the skill set of a starter, but just happened to be in a bad spot where there was a starter. And from how things are sounding, he might be the starter here pretty soon in Minnesota. I think that's what Roshan Johnson can be. I think he can be a very solid running back, but when given the chance, he can put up high-end RB1 or RB2 or low-end RB1 type numbers. I think very solid pass catcher between the tackles, can do a little bit of everything. Peter, you seemed pretty happy with that choice.
Well, yeah, I'm happy he's getting the respect that he deserves. He does have one elite trait, and that's just his personality and his character. He's a great guy. But yeah, he can do everything. Yeah, we see with like players like a Brian Robinson, on the Commanders, like that's a valuable thing to have on your fantasy football team. So I love him at this value. I think he does have the potential to be a starter.
I agree.
And I think if he does start, he's going to be kind of okay. Dennis, don't go after me about his vision or anything again. Stylistically, personality wise, or something, I would comp him to a Jamal Williams. Is like he will
Now,
have a role.
I haven't seen a bunch of interviews with him. Is he as charismatic as Jamal Williams is?
No, he's that
on-field comp.
On the field.
Okay.
They call him Mr. Accountability.
Okay.
So like he has standards, and so coaches will love him. He'll be great on special teams.
Yeah.
So he'll have a role really fast, and he's going to be one of those players that it might take a little bit to potentially start. But once he starts, he might just hold on to that job. And even if there's a more talented running back like Aaron Jones to Jamal Williams when they were both in the Packers, it could just be like that. He only had one fumble his entire career. I mean, he didn't have as many touches, but he's just very dependable.
Absolutely. What do you think, Dennis?
I think he has potential. He almost seems like I like the Brian Robinson comparison a little bit.
Yep.
You know, not game-breaking speed, but really, really good size, big, good vision, can play on all three downs, maybe plays early downs better. Probably a guy that's going to need volume to be a high-end fantasy contributor. But if he lands in a spot where he's going to get that volume, I like it. I think he could be really, really good. There's nothing about his game where you're like, you've got to get this guy off the field. You just have to get him out.
Absolutely.
He can't handle it. He's mature. He understands the role of a team. I mean, he could have transferred at any time and probably been a starter for
a lot of teams,
3 years for many teams. But he was like, I know my role. I know what it takes to win. You know, all right, Texas didn't maybe win so much, but
it was also his childhood dream to be on Texas. Like that was his goal since he was a kid.
Well, and he achieved that. It was, you know, I think he's going to do well in the NFL. Yep. I don't know that there's going to be a lot of ceiling there unless he ends up where he gets a lot of volume. But on the other side of it, he's built for volume. You know, this is a guy you could see Mike Vrabel going, hey, man, you're Henry too. You know, we're going to slot you right in. Next year, you're going to take over. You're going to carry the load.
Never know. And honestly, there's a lot of guys in this class outside of, you know, honestly, Bijan and Gibbs. And then I don't think Spears and A-Chain are the type of guys that would need like tons of volume to be effective. But then literally every other running back other than that in this class probably fall into that category that they would need volume in order to be successful.
He would definitely start for my flag football team today at Fork.
There you go. Real quick, there's a quick question before you pick Peter. Brian asked, what would you trade for the 101? Real quick, my thoughts are, Brian, you have to get an offer where you're like, I really like that offer, and then they would still have to give a little more. Like, it really needs to blow you away, because whether you believe all of the hype or not, what Bijan Robinson is worth in the Dynasty community is a ton. I mean, he is already the running back one in most people's eyes without even taking a snap in the NFL. So someone would have to absolutely blow you away. It would have to be the kind of thing where they give you 103, 105, and then you still get a first next year for me to like be willing to move Bijan Robinson. What do you guys think?
Yeah, it's I struggle with, I've got a few shares of the 101, and I just don't know that it's really worth it. When people are saying, oh, what will you take? It's like everything, you know, that's what it's going to take. I don't, you know, there's a chance to get a true difference maker. And honestly, I think that once you draft him, the value of that pick is going to go up. So why wait? Why trade it now when you'll be able to get more, I think, real value after he's drafted?
Peter,
I will
what's
just say
his
this.
ceiling? What's his ceiling, Peter?
Let me just say this really fast, Garrett.
Okay.
I do not think he's gonna get in past 14 with the Patriots. And that is how his value tanks. And I don't think that his value should tank if he gets drafted by the Patriots, but I think there's a very high chance he gets drafted by the Patriots.
Oof.
But Hall of Fame, best running back of all time. Like that's who he could be.
I just really wanted you to say ceiling. That was really
I know.
all that was for. All right,
Yeah.
so let's move on.
Okay, that's
Peter.
cool. I just want to answer your question. I get it.
All right, Peter. Your ceiling pick here at 3-5.
Okay. So this guy is behind on Sleeper's ADP.
Oh, your timer ran out. I'll remove the player. I
Luke
queued you up and
Musgrave is
everything.
not a bad pick though, but can you? Okay,
It
fix
keeps. Hold on. Every time I do, I gotta pause the draft clearly. All right, you tell me who you want, and I'll manually put the player in because it's not wanting to
Dang it.
cooperate.
I had a whole thing.
Get on with your soliloquy.
Jonathan Mingo,
You
ADP
son of a bitch.
999. He's going behind offensive linemen
Can we boot him?
in Sleeper's ADP right now. He will be a second-round pick, and he will find a role, and he will be on an NFL field day one, game one, and will have snaps and will be a very good wide receiver. He's not going to be a wide receiver one for fantasy, but a lot of people like him that are in the NFL, and I like him too.
I can barely find
He
him.
won't be a reach at the end of the draft, Josh. He is definitely a reach right now, but he will probably be a second or third round pick.
Well, he was going to go 308.
So you think you think he could go as high as the second round in the NFL draft?
Yes.
Now this is I still haven't done my deep dive on him. You'll get to hear all my thoughts on Mingo this coming week on the podcast. But this is definitely a betting on traits versus betting on production because there was not a lot of production from Mingo during his time at Ole Miss. So you watching the tape, you're seeing the traits and you're saying those are traits that translate, and I'm willing to bet on those.
Yeah. So a popular saying that I keep hearing scouts and all these people say over and over, if I've seen you do it once or twice, I'm going to assume that you can do it again. And I've seen flashes from him that he is dominant at the catch point. He's really hard to tackle. He has fine routes. He's a really good blocker. Like all this, he has these traits that might need to be developed a little bit, but yeah, it's a bet, but it's a bet that I really like to make at the third round.
Okay. Fair. Absolutely fair. Dennis, you're on the clock right now. I'm going to pause it for you because we need to build your pickup. So real quick, I do want to catch up on everything though. Right after Roschon Johnson went, Zach Evans, Kendre Miller rounds out the second round. Then into the third round, Tyler Scott, who I was pleasantly surprised with his tape. Sean Tucker at 3-2, Keyshawn Boutte at 3-3, Israel Abanikanda at 3-4, and then Jonathan Mingo at 3-5 here to Peter. Marvin Mims goes at 3-6, and then Luke Musgrave at 3-7. So, Dennis, I will hit resume, and you can tell us who your pick is.
Well, I kind of got a lot of sniping going on in this round.
Oof,
and you know, it really comes down to, I think, Eric Gray or Dwayne McBride. I have them both in the same tier. Gray maybe brings a little more pass catching ability. I think McBride might
Nope, your
be
clock's up.
a little better pure runner.
You get Rashid Rice.
So I'm going to go ahead and take Eric Gray.
All right, I'll put him in for you.
Right on.
And I'm thrilled that you made that pick
Because you're taking McBride.
because I would rather McBride. So hopefully he falls one more pick to me. Let's see, where's Eric Gray? There he is. All right, put him in there. All right, we will resume, and then Sam Laporta went. That's a good pick as well. I do.
That's
like
a very
Laporta.
good pick.
But I am going to go with McBride here. Thoroughly enjoyed watching his tape. There are not a lot of players where you can just turn on the tape, and it doesn't even have to be a highlight tape. Just turn on any game, and there will be at least 2 or 3 plays in that game where you're like, there at least 2 or 3. Like, he does it in every single game where he just will literally, like, did you guys ever see that clip of Marshawn Lynch where they're interviewing him and they ask him, like, I don't remember if they ask him about his running style or, you know, what he does in games, but he just says, man, I just want to hit somebody over and over and over and over and over and over and over. Like, he goes on with this for like 15 seconds, just like over and over. And they're like, is there a deeper metaphor to that? He's like, just run through an MFer's face. Then they're not going to want to tackle you no more. And that's basically Dwayne McBride's entire game is, look, I just want to run through your face and you're not going to want to tackle me anymore.
If you had to give an award titled like the most dog in him, would you give it to McBride or
100%.
are you giving that to someone else? Okay.
100%. Yeah. And then you add in that arguably, like, you know, even though we're analysts, we have other analysts that we really like and respect and whatnot. For me, Daniel Jeremiah is that guy. Like, what Daniel Jeremiah says, like, I always take seriously. I might not agree 100% of the time, but anything he says, I always take seriously. And he put him as his running back 5 in the class. So when I saw that, I was like, oh, okay, all right, I'm gonna pay attention. Because this guy knows what he's talking about. He's been offered several GM jobs, but he just enjoys his role in the media and getting to do what he does. So I was very happy with that. Real quick, Dennis, what made you take Gray over McBride? Was it pass catching or?
Yeah, I think his game is more well-rounded. I like McBride. My concern is that McBride is kind of on the Derrick Henry, Jordan Howard spectrum. And
okay.
I know that Howard had a couple good years, but I don't know, you know, can McBride catch the ball? Is he going to be able to do that? Is he going to get phased out and just become solely touchdown dependent where you're hoping for 800 yards and double-digit touchdowns because that's really all the opportunity he's going to get. So I have some of those concerns. I haven't watched a ton of his games, but in the couple I have watched, he does look great. He runs very well. I just, you know, maybe in the next 2 weeks, he'll move up a tier for me. I like Gray. You know, Gray is similar size to McBride. He's not that much smaller, has pretty good vision, can catch the ball. My concerns with Gray are that, you know, when he left Tennessee and went to Oklahoma, it felt like he should have took right over that first year, and he didn't. It took him till his second year at Oklahoma. You know, is it going to be a situation where when he gets to the NFL, it's going to take him a year and a half to completely grasp the offense? You know, that is definitely a concern, and part of the reason why he's, you know, down where he is. But overall, I think his game is more well-rounded than McBride's.
All right, Peter, I'm going to pause it real quick because it is your pick, but let me catch everyone up real quick. So after I went with McBride, it was Chase Brown, Evan Hull, and then starting the 4th round, Rashee Rice, Deuce Vaughn, Xavier Hutchinson, which another guy that I was hoping would fall, and then Jaden Reed. So Peter, you're up. What are you thinking here, my man?
Could we talk about a certain prospect really fast?
Absolutely.
So tell me who had more carries last year.
Okay.
Zach Charbonnet, Bijan Robinson, or Deuce Vaughn?
I feel like this
Vaughn.
is a trick question, so it's got to be Deuce Vaughn.
It's Deuce Vaughn. He had 293 carries last year. Isn't that insane? Like,
it is an insane
keep
number.
hearing like size, and it's like, if you can take that load,
but taking that load in the Big 12 versus taking that against NFL defenses is a very different thing.
Yeah, okay, but like at the 4th round, just with
Sure.
how I love that pick.
I mean, draft punt returners in the 4th round, all you want, man.
Look, my mentality is at the by the second half of the 2nd round, I only care about upside. I truly only care about upside. Will that pick probably get lit on fire? I feel like there's a 95% chance that 4th round pick in Deuce Vaughn probably gets lit on fire. But is there a 5% chance that he actually becomes something and breaks the mold? Yeah, there is. So why not take a shot at it? Because there's guys that their percent chance is 0. Sure, maybe their floor is like, hey, maybe one day, maybe one day he'll be my 6th receiver. Like, okay, sure, he can be a roster clogger for you forever, and he stays on an NFL roster. But I need guys that are actually going to get me fantasy points. So, would I make that pick? I don't know, probably not. But I can't blame anyone because there's upside.
If he gets on the field, can you imagine how fun that would be to root for him? Though the smallest guy ever to be in the combine, and just see him step on the field. Oh man, I need to figure out who I'm picking, don't I? Okay, I know.
You know who you're taking? All right, I will resume the draft.
Good old Stetson.
Okay, you got to explain this one to me because I don't get this one.
Okay. First of all, it's the 4th round, so
okay, fair. You can take any player in the 4th round, and there's an argument for it. So sure.
There is an element to being able to run an offense. It's Georgia. It's easy. I get it. But being able to win a national title game back to back, size is an issue. His arm is an issue. There's a lot of issues. He's in the 4th round, though. I think that there's a very good chance he could be the 6th quarterback taken.
Okay.
And
I'm waiting for the part that excites me.
It's the 4th round, bro.
But all you've said is negatives. You've only said negatives.
No, I didn't. Did I?
Look,
he had a great combine.
He doesn't have a strong arm. He's not very
he threw
tall.
the ball. I disagree. He had the same velocity at the combine as Will Levis.
Who measures velocity?
The
NFL
combine
does, but who else?
But he's supporting you, Peter. Embrace it.
That's true. But I like Will Levis too. But
and he's accurate, unlike Will Levis.
His combine was really good.
It was a good combine. And so did Kevin White back in the day.
But so here's what he brings to the table. He's a proven winner. He's going to be good in the locker room despite his arrest. He's older, is theoretically a little more mature. He's a good game manager. Is he going to be able to put a team on his back and carry it to victory like Anthony Richardson is? Maybe, probably not. But I don't think his size is out of the realm of a Drew Brees or a Russell Wilson. He brings a lot of those same skills to the table. It just has to manifest it with NFL coaching. The likelihood is that he's a career backup a la Chase Daniel. But in the 4th round of your rookie draft, I think it's a great shot. I was considering him here where I took Tank Dell.
Yeah. And the other thing with him is if I had to pick one, Brock Purdy, he would kind of be that guy, just super experienced. And if he lands in the right landing spot, 49ers already have about 300 quarterbacks though. So, but
to me, when we covered him, he reminded me of Colt McCoy is who he reminded me of. A guy that won in college, but his arm is just never strong enough. He's just not big enough. He'll do some spot starts to fill in for some guys for a game or two and look fine doing that, but just no real shot at him ever having that job long term. So, but we will see. First of all, got a lot of sniping that just happened. So Kenny McIntosh was who I was going to take. And then the next guy that I was going to take, so he went at 4'6", 4'7", CJ Johnson. And then at 4'8", Nathaniel Dell, which is Tank. Dennis, you got a great pick. Like, such a value that he should have probably gone at least a round sooner. What are your thoughts on Tank Dell? I know, we just had the Deuce Vaughn conversation, and you kind of hated on him for size there. So you're gonna have to explain that part of this to me. But I love the pick.
Tank Dell is legitimately 5 inches taller than Deuce Vaughn. No, he's actually only 3 inches taller.
Only 3, and I think he weighs less.
So, but he plays a completely different position. He's a wide receiver, not a running back.
Sure.
Now, I do he's more like a fish tank as opposed to an army tank at 5'8", 165. So I think there's definitely, a risk of being called tank when you're that size. Now, that being said, he's shown a propensity to get open, has a knack for the end zone at his size. Will it translate to the NFL? I don't know. But the opportunity for him to be a productive slot guy is going to be there. Now, we'll see where he lands. Will he be used in an appropriate fashion? He's definitely not a guy you can throw on the outside and expect to win. He's going to have to win short with separation, no pun intended. But at 408, I think it was a complete steal. We need to petition Sleeper to fix his ADP.
100%. Yeah. And this is the great part about doing actual drafts this time of year is you can find some nuggets and gems like that where people are like, oh my gosh, he's still available. Because
that was my exact reaction as I'm looking through, Mo Ibrahim, and I'm like, I'm gonna have to take another running back. What? Tank Dell?
Done and done. Yes, absolutely. So fantastic pick there. Then right after him, Charlie Jones. Jones is an interesting player out of Purdue. He was a guy that's continually going to different schools, just walking on, trying to make a team, and then just had a fantastic year out of nowhere for Purdue. So he's kind of a fun guy, kind of that Hunter Renfrow type of guy, small white guy that just works really hard and runs really good routes. So he'll be a fun one to kind of watch here. So I'm up at, let's see, what are we at? Pick 410. And I am struggling, to be honest. There is a lot of
struggling.
Juice.
It's can we do a 3.5 round draft in our fantasy leagues?
Right. Because there's a lot of stuff in here that just looks kind of yucky. Now, there are a couple names that pique my interest a little bit. And so the guy I am going to take here, and I'm excited to watch his tape because I still haven't done my deep dive on him. But Raheem Jarrett is someone that I've liked for a long time. He was a former 5-star guy, was originally committed to LSU, then last minute ended up going to Maryland instead. Kind of sounds a lot like Stephon Diggs, a highly rated guy, ends up going to Maryland, doesn't have as good of a career as most people thought he should during his time there. Will he follow Stephon Diggs' footsteps and be a great NFL receiver? Probably not, but at least that there's some pedigree there. There's at least something to get a little bit excited about there. So I ended up taking him. I'm excited to dig into his tape because I know that there's a lot of meat left on the bone there that he could have gotten. But I'm a believer in him. And real quick, I'm going to pause the draft because we just rounded the 4th round into the 5th round, last and final round. Before we get there, I do have a couple things real quick. Want to remind you guys real quickly about Fantasy Alarm. Fantasy Alarm has all the fantasy football and betting content you need to prepare for the NFL draft this upcoming season, featuring Britt Flynn's mock draft, rookie scouting reports, NFL team needs, player projections, Discord chat, and more. For a limited time, get the complete NFL package plus DFS playbooks for all sports and an additional 20% off the already discounted annual price with promo code NFL Draft at fantasyalarm.com. That's promo code NFL Draft at fantasyalarm.com. With that, we will take another quick break, and we will finish up the 5th round, and then we will break down the draft and talk a few other little things as we wrap up our show here on the Better Sports Network.
Moose and Keith. Weekdays at 10 a.m. Eastern.
The word genius is there. Bob Glauber, it describes him. Bob, so when's the last time that Twitter defeated you? Because I've been defeated by Twitter today.
I'll tell you how Twitter defeated me one time. I had the mistaken impression that the year that Troy Polamalu won the Defensive Player of the Year, it looked like it was going to go to Clay Matthews Jr. And I tweeted it. And there was a guy on the media bus. He was like, oh, yeah, he's got it, a guy I trust. I won't tell you who it was, but his initials are Mike Garafalo. So I went with it. Got a DM from Rich Eisen, NFL Network. He goes, you sure about that? I go, oh, man. Oh, I just got this wave because like accuracy to me is really important. So I'm literally on the media bus. We're just getting back from media day. We are slipping and sliding in Dallas. It's snowing. I get off the bus. I open my laptop. I am hunched over, and I just like literally people are passing me. Bob, what's wrong? And it was Polamalu, and Adam Schefter had retweeted me. Trey Wingo had retweeted me. I'm like, oh, I'm dead.
So when it's Polamalu, then how do you handle that? Like, what was the subsequent tweet
I think
afterward?
I said, got some bad Twitter info. I didn't put Garafalo's name on there. I had to
10 years later, you can out him. I like that. Yeah.
You know, he wouldn't mind that. He knows the stories.
Yeah.
He actually said to me, hey, Bob, I think you might have jumped the gun on that. I was like, oh, crap. There we go.
Campus to Canton on the Better Sports Network.
Would Dion bench Shedeur?
I don't think he would.
Like, how bad would it have to be? Because we've seen horrendous quarterback play from this Colorado team for the last, 5 years? JT Shroud, Brandon Lewis, just terrible quarterback play. Like, they were 131st, which is dead last in pass EPA per play. Obviously, it will be better, but how bad does it have to be for him to bench his own son? Like, I'm not sure he will ever either, like, especially with the attitude that he came in with.
If they don't get Rashada, who do they bench him for this year anyway? I don't know that there's another answer on that roster that you go to. They don't really have a guy behind him. So I don't even know if we would know the answer to that until the next year, assuming that, he doesn't declare for the draft, he returns, they bring somebody else that's competent and behind him.
If they're going to do this the Lincoln Riley way, next year would be the class to bring somebody in. Shedeur Sanders is going to be a third-year player. So he's going to play 2023. I don't think he's declaring for the 2024 NFL draft. So he's going to play in 2024 and then declare for the 2025 NFL draft. And let's remember this. He hasn't had a full recruiting cycle at Colorado. He will have that next recruiting cycle. So maybe he could get one of these class of 2024 quarterbacks that come to Colorado.
However you're invested in sports, from betting to fantasy, collectibles, and more, join our community on Better Sports Network.
Doggy.
Is this farm talk? Are we going to talk farms now?
This is Farmville 2023.
Hey there,
April
time
12th.
to bring the cows in.
13th. Betsy.
Got to get to milking.
There it is.
I have that gift saved for the most opportune time.
Oh man. This is one of those you know what? I'm not even going to say anything because the more I talk about that gift, the more trouble I get myself in. So we're just going to move on. We're just going to move on, keep it going. We have done 4 rounds of this rookie mock so far. And before I let you know how it's gone, I want to say, attention, better fans. You can have the Better Sports Network newsletter emailed to you every single day. The only place to get our daily Better Bet, plus exclusive offers, program alerts, special events, and our top moments. Register for free right now at bettersports.com. All right. So we've done 4 rounds. I feel like reading all of that would not be good radio.
You could all
podcasting.
read like every other name.
Do you have a
you say
helium
one,
balloon?
then Dennis says one, then I say one.
We just rotate
Yeah.
and we do it in squeaky voices like Dennis wants us to.
Yeah.
All right, no, just look at the sheet. Just look at the screen. You'll see what's happened for the past 4 rounds. The most recent round, though, was Rashee Rice, Deuce Vaughn, Xavier Hutchinson, Jaden Reed, Stenson Bennett, Kenny McIntosh, C.J. Johnson, Tank Dell, Charlie Jones, Rakeem Jarrett, Jake Hayner, and Puka Nacua. All right, now we are going to resume the draft. This puts our boy Dave back on the clock. So Data Fork asks, give me your 3 favorite picks in terms of value. We will do that. That is a great question. We will do that as soon as the draft's over. We will be talking all things value, what was too soon, too late, all that kind of stuff as soon as the draft ends. So you're right in my same wavelength there, Fork.
I have a feeling Bennett's not going to be in that.
What's that?
I have a feeling that Stetson Bennett will not be in that.
Not a top 3 best value. No.
Nope.
No. I mean,
instant regret. Like once you asked me to justify that pick, I was like, crap, why did I?
Yeah, I'm glad you drafted him instead of me.
Heavy T, our producer, says this is the time of the show where we talk Iowa prospects.
The best time.
Does Iowa have prospects?
That's a great question.
This is the offensive
Sam
line
Laporta.
part.
He already went though. Parker Washington just went. Good pick there at 5'1". Our chat saying they just got sniped again. Muhammad Ibrahim at 5'2". Oren says go Hawks. So
go Hawks.
We've got some Hawkeye fans. They tend to produce good offensive linemen, good tight ends.
I was thinking that meant go Seahawks.
Did you really think that's what that meant?
Yeah. Go Hawks.
Question mark?
Different Hawk. Bummer. All right. Keaton Mitchell and then Tucker Kraft. So that puts you on the clock, Peter. Now, this point in the draft, it's not pretty. In fact, it's pretty ugly. There are some at least recognizable names. Are there anyone you're leaning towards, or is it just a close your eyes and throw a dart?
So at this part of the draft, you are throwing the darts at the dartboard, hoping that you end up at the highest part of the ceiling.
Are you allowed to say
Roof.
ceiling now?
Roof.
God himself. We didn't even have to do it.
Oh man.
You made it pretty far though.
Man.
You did beat the over under.
That's honestly like the most impressive thing I've done this week. But
that's what she said.
So Michael Wilson
that's a good pick.
He's a good player. He showed at the Senior Bowl. I want the upside. Ceiling upside. There you go.
I'm just gonna say it all the time now.
It's out of my system now. But I want that on my team.
All right, we'll take him, my man. I think that's a great pick, and I've actually heard some good buzz from him lately. Now, his biggest issue has been injuries. I mean, he's been hurt so much, but when he's been on the field, I've heard people that I genuinely respect their opinion that have talked about just if it was only on tape, he would be close to a top 5 prospect in this class. So, do you cross your fingers?
What did you say?
Top 5 prospect in this class at the wide receiver position, not overall. But Michael Wilson, top 5 at the position. So,
yeah.
What was the podcast? The PFF podcast I was listening to yesterday. The PFF Stock Exchange with Connor Rogers and Trevor Sikkema.
Yep.
They have him. I don't remember which one was which. One of them had him ranked 7th. The other one had him ranked 12th. But they both agreed that if health was not a concern, he would probably be sneaking into their top 5s.
Yeah.
So that's the type of player you should take in the 5th round. A
Yep.
guy with crazy upside. And if you light it on fire, you light it on fire. It is what it is. Dang it, Dennis. I feel like you've been sniping me all night with the exception of Eric Gray. Dang it. Trey Palmer was my pick there. All right. Tell me about Trey Palmer while I lament my life decisions.
You know, he's fast. He's 6 foot tall, 192. Could probably put on a few pounds, get a little stronger. Probably start out on special teams, but have an opportunity to work his way into the back end of a rotation. I think unless, he's going to have a lot of things break his way. And most of it's going to come from hard work. If he buckles down, really takes to NFL coaching, kind of works out some of the kinks in his game, his route running, and if he can get up to 6 foot, 196, 197, then he's going to be as big as Jackson Smith and Jigba. That's plenty big enough to play wide receiver in the NFL. He could be a wide receiver 3 for some team, possibly a 2. And with his speed, that's upside. I don't have I haven't put a ceiling on my usage of upside. So I'm going to say in the 5th round, he brings upside in spades.
There you go. Ceiling, upside. All right.
Reach the roof.
Right after him, Bryce Ford Wheaton. That puts me up with my last pick. Even though Palmer went, and I am very sad about that. There was one other guy that I was hoping would fall as well. Will Mallory, tight end, Miami. Very good pass catching tight end. A guy that's going to need some time, need some development. But even Jim Nagy was talking about him, I want to say it was today, how he thinks he's just as a pure pass catcher, that he's better than Michael Mayer. Now, granted, he's biased. These are guys that he had at the Senior Bowl, so you would expect to hear some of those things. But still, he doesn't have to come out and say those things. He could just keep that to himself if he didn't believe it. So
he's better at not spontaneously fumbling.
There you go. That is true as well. Yep. That is true as well. All right. So that officially wraps up the 2023 BSN mock draft. I want to say the first one, but I think we did one. I don't know if this was our first rookie one, though. Was this the first rookie one?
We did a rookie redraft. I think
redraft. That's what it was. Yep. We did a rookie redraft. Okay. Yep. Dennis, let's start with you. Excluding your own, what were some of the best value picks that you liked in this draft?
I think Dwayne McBride at late second was a good pick.
Thank you.
I like Evan Hull a lot. I think that my concern with him is there's plenty of opportunity to see him playing really well as a 3rd down back, and he tested really well. He just doesn't play as fast as he tested. That's my big concern with him. But he has kind of a Rex Burkhead quality to his game, does a lot of things really well. I think in the Tyler Scott at 301, I think that has the potential to be a good pick, a player that maybe moves up by the time we get into the drafts, seeing where his landing spot gets him. I love Hendon Hooker. There are times I could see taking him at the 201 maybe if I've missed out on quarterbacks in the first round. I think Hooker's, if he lands somewhere where he basically gets a red shirt in the NFL this year, I think Hooker could be a big winner.
Absolutely. Peter, what about you? What were some of the ones that you really liked in this draft, excluding your own?
There are 1, 2, 3, 4 names that I'm very confident that will be drafted higher than they are right now after the NFL draft. That's Spears, which is one of my players. Oops. Tillman, Izzy, Abanikanda, and there was the last one. Where was it? Was it only 3? And Musgrave. I think Musgrave gets a fairly high draft pick. I think he goes second round, and that's where you get good landing spots.
Yeah. Well, you gave it to yourself, but I do agree. I think Spears was arguably the best value out of anybody in this draft. I think 2.5 was a really good spot. Dennis, I agree with you. Hooker was another one that I really liked, especially if he ends up getting first round draft capital, which there's some rumors he could fall into the end of the first. I don't know that I fully believe it, but even if it, we've seen a fair amount of quarterbacks go in the second and third rounds and still be very successful NFL quarterbacks. So even if he goes on day 2, I don't think that's a death sentence in any way, shape, or form. I think that there's a team that could utilize that value, and then he could become their starter sooner rather than later, because he's not a guy that needs to sit a ton. He's already an older prospect. He's gone through the ringer. He's very accurate. By all accounts, he's a smart guy. So I don't think he's someone that would have to sit a really long time and wait. I think I would love to see the Seahawks nab him. I think it would, even if he did have to sit behind Geno, that between those two guys, somebody is their future quarterback. I wouldn't mind seeing him go to the Falcons, and it would be basically him and Ritter. So they could easily find their next quarterback in Hooker, and then utilize whatever draft picks on other positions of need next year, as opposed to hoping they get a top 2 pick and get one of those elite quarterbacks. So I think that's another one. Tennessee is one that I could see him going to. I think it would be a good one with, maybe potentially replacing good old Tannehill if he doesn't get traded first. So a lot of possibilities there with him. Rashee Rice, I think, was a good one. I didn't give him a fantastic score, but he's a player that has a really high ceiling if he can learn to play with the speed that he has, because he plays like this big physical receiver, and he's only 6.5 feet tall. Like, he's not this huge 6'3" like monster player. He's not going to be able to do some of the same types of things in the NFL to those DBs that he was doing to some of these small school DBs that he was playing against, playing for SMU. So if he can play to that speed that he has and that burst that he has, then I think we could see a very good receiver. But right now, there's a lot of risk there. But at 4-1, I'll take all the risk in the world on a guy like that. So I thought that was another really good pick there. Obviously, I mentioned Tank Della at the time. I thought that was a fantastic pick there. And he just fell through the cracks. So I think that was another good one as well. All right. Was there any pick in here that you guys looked at it? We don't have to do a ton because we don't want to be overly negative. We're a pretty positive show for the most part. Were there any in there that you're like, I didn't get that one? Why did you take that guy there? Peter, we'll start with you this time.
Yeah. So I would say the first one, I really wanted to like this player, and I kind of got Sean Tuckered by him. Chase Brown. Just you look at who he is on Mock Draftable or website like that, he looks great, and then you look at his stats and he looks great, but he just doesn't, his film, he has a lot of growth that he needs to do, and when you're still late third is where you start picking those projections. So I don't hate it. But to me, I still wouldn't be drafting him unless if it's a late 4th, 5th round pick.
Yeah. Dennis, what about you? Was there any in there that you're like, I'm just not feeling that one?
Yeah. And I'm going to come off as being very sizist on this, but I just don't see a fantasy relevant role for Deuce Vaughn.
Okay.
To me, if I get it's the 4th round, I just don't see it. There's only so many Darren Sproles is out there, and I get the connection between the two of them. I don't see it. Probably another one. I was just sad. Oh, I get a sense that there are teams that like that a lot of teams like Cedric Tillman better than Jalen Hyatt. And I think in the NFL draft, we may get surprised and
that would be interesting.
Tillman go ahead of Hyatt. And if that happens, I think it'll be there'll be something that it's going to shake up some fantasy.
That would drastically change things for how a lot of people view these players. Now, I am high on Cedric Tillman. Talked about him last night on the podcast. He's one of the few guys that has size in this class that also has some appeal to them. You know, there's guys like A.T. Perry that I'm just not interested in. But he is one of the players with size that I do really like. So that would be a very interesting development if that ended up being the case. I didn't have a lot of picks that I didn't like in this draft. I don't think anyone was way out of pocket. But that being said, I've kind of given my thoughts on him. But Sean Tucker, I don't see it. I don't think he's going to be a successful NFL running back. I get taking him there. That's why I didn't want to pick it, because it's the third round. Like, there's nothing wrong with taking a player like that in the third round. But the lack of physicality in his game, I didn't think he was amazing side to side either. I think it was just a lot of straight line speed. He wanted to bounce everything to the outside. So it's tough. But overall, I think everyone did a great job drafting. One player I want to touch on real quick, because we're going to get to a couple other things. But I do want to talk about this guy real quick. And I've heard some very polarizing takes on this player. Kayshon Boutte. Where do you guys have Boutte right now? Because we've heard from some circles that he's incredibly talented. You know, he was a Devi darling at one point. But then there was all of these questionable things off the field, the lack of the production. The combine was a big disappointment. Dennis, where did you come out on Kayshon Boutte?
I have Boutte in the same tier as Tank Dell, Chase Brown, Darnell Washington, and Rashee Rice. It's kind of a hodgepodge of a tier because they all kind of do one thing pretty well. Mm-hmm. And so it's getting to that point. Like, if Rashee Rice can figure out that he's not Mike Evans and start to play a game more appropriate to his size, like you said, he could end up being he could be a top 20 wide receiver. But Kayshon Boutte is the same thing, though. For him, it just seems like it's all in his head right now. He's coming off I don't know him. I haven't seen really many interviews, but the performance at the combine almost seemed disinterested.
Yeah, I totally agree.
And it's like, you've got to get past that. Because 2 years ago, he looked fantastic, and it was like, well, this guy's going to be great. And that's why he started the season so high on most people's boards. And then he just kept dropping. Chase Brown, there are several things about his game that could translate, but it almost seemed like when his brother took him out at the Senior Bowl, that was the end of his process. And now he's just trying to get to the end of it, get through training camp, and then on to his real job as a stockbroker or something. Darnell Washington is a guy that I just feel like is going to end up who's the big Mercedes Lewis, not having a lot of real big fantasy seasons because he's blocking, because when he does catch the ball, it's, he drifts out 7 or 8 yards, catches the ball, and he falls forward for 3 because he's 10 feet tall. But, he's going to have to improve the way he runs in the game. I think he does some things really well, shows some flashes. So this tier is a tier of people who I think any one of them could step up a tier. if it all comes together. But yeah, I don't hate Kayshon Boutte, and at the price there, I think that was, reasonable.
For sure. Well, what about you, Peter? Boutte is a very polarizing guy. Is he somebody that you would be willing to take that risk on? And and we're talking about this before the NFL draft. There's a team that could fall in love and draft him in the third round, or he could just be off a lot of people's boards and end up being an undrafted free agent. So where do you come out on him?
So I'm pretty out. The only way that I could draft him in the third, and even late third, is if a team takes a shot at him. If they use a third round pick, then I'm interested because they were able to meet with him. They know more than me. It's like, so if a team's willing to use a third round pick on him, I'm down. Let's do it.
Like, I'm not gonna take Boutte over Mingo or Mims.
Okay.
Which happened in this draft.
Yeah. And I'm torn because the Boutte, like at that point, like you are shooting for ceiling. So I'm never going to knock someone, but I have a hard time drafting guys that don't seem to love football. Because the guys that make it, that are later round picks, are traditionally guys that just love the game and are so driven and have so much desire to be better. Yeah. When somebody has the skill set, but just doesn't care, it's hard for me to say like how much upside they have, because I don't know that even if everything went perfectly, that upside would ever be realized just because of the lack of commitment. And so, like, I don't want to turn this into like a, looking at someone's character or morals or things like I'm not trying to turn it into something that it's not. But at the same time, I have to be able to believe in and root for these guys on my team. And I just have a hard time rooting for guys that just don't seem to care that much. I don't know. Does that make sense?
Oh, totally. 100%.
100.
Yeah. Okay. So, with all of this, we wrapped up 5 rounds of the mock draft. I want to talk real quickly because we're 2 weeks away now. As crazy as it sounds, we're 2 weeks away now from the actual NFL draft.
Yep.
Dennis and Peter, whoever wants to go first, I'm fine with. Give me a guy that you think right now the NFL might be higher on, and we might see better draft capital out of them than a lot of the fantasy community thinks.
Well, I'll go first because I just picked the guy. It's Jonathan Mingo. His ADP was literally below offensive tackles in sleeper. So I think that there are teams. He's met with at least 6 or 7 of them that aren't the best landing spots, but he will have a role there. Like the Ravens met with him, Bears, Panthers. I forget the last team, but there are teams that are interested in him, and he offers real life football value. But he also has the athleticism that if he's able to stay on the field and show that he can catch the ball well and improve on his route running, I think he will actually have really good fantasy value as well.
Yeah. Dennis, what about you? Is there somebody that you think the NFL draft, the guys that are drafting, the GMs and different guys like that they might value these players that are receivers, running backs, tight ends, quarterbacks? They might value this guy a little bit more than we as a fantasy community are currently drafting them.
Cedric Tillman is that guy for me.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
In part because this wide receiver class at the top is so small. And so there's a good chance that, when they compare him to a guy like Quentin Johnston, Tillman is just much more consistent than Johnston. Now, he was injured last year. I get that. But the previous season, he had a great year. And at 6'3", 214, he has the requisite size to be the big wide receiver in this class. So depending on team needs, I could see Tillman going in the second round, early in the second round, to a team that's looking for a wide receiver with some size to pair with somebody smaller. You know, we saw it last year with Pittsburgh bringing in Pickens to pair with Deontay Johnson. So getting somebody that maybe brings some more maturity. I know he's a little bit older, but we saw Terry McLaurin come in as a 23-year-old rookie and has been having a really solid career. So I like Tillman. You know, it wouldn't surprise me to see Tillman go before Jalen Hyatt. And, you know, I don't know that his talent warrants going above Addison or Downs or Flowers, but some may feel that, you know, the is just much better with like that with him a few times.
Dennis, you're breaking up a little bit, but I think I got the gist of what you're saying there. So the guy for me, well, real quick to touch on what you just said, if that's the case, then Tillman is probably going to be mid-second round, because I don't see Hyatt falling to the third unless you guys think that could be the case. But that would be a surprise to me for him to fall to the third.
I think, though, every time someone says this is the perfect landing spot for this player, but he would fit a need on the Chiefs. You know, their team small, fast wide receiver right now, and they need a bigger guy that can do what he does. So I could see him, kind of. They have a second round pick, right? Yeah. So I could see him maybe kind of going a little bit later to them if they don't, you know, draft a wide receiver in the first or anything like that.
Well, but even the Chiefs, we've seen the Chiefs, you know, draft McCole Hardman in the first round. So if they have they have the 31st pick.
Yep.
You know, would it be amazing to see Tillman go there then?
Josh asked Dennis, are you in a different room each week? It's kind of cool. Can we get an MTV Cribs tour?
Maybe someday.
I think last week threw him off because you were actually on vacation last week, right?
I was out in Southern California.
You were beaming.
Look at this guy. For me, the guy that I'm going to go with, Roschon Johnson. I feel like he a lot of time gets lumped into groups of guys that are probably going to be taken in the fourth round of the NFL draft, and I feel like his draft capital will be an entire round sooner. I think we're going to see him like early third round. I think a team is going to end up taking Roschon Johnson. I think he's the style of player that a lot of teams covet. That can do a little bit of everything. Peter, you mentioned the character stuff, which always is an aid. He can do a little bit of everything, former quarterback. So, you know, he understands offenses a little bit differently than just guys that have played running back their entire career. So I think all of these things are appealing. So I think he could be a guy that gets a little boost because he goes higher in the NFL draft than we necessarily expected him to. What about conversely, the guy that is going really high right now in our rookie drafts, but might take a tumble a la, Kelvin Harmon and Akeem Butler a few years ago, Malik Willis, different guys like that. Who's the Eno Benjamin? Who's a guy like that you think could tumble a little bit compared to where the fantasy community has him?
You know, right now it seems that Quentin Johnston is that guy. You know, you know, when you watch highlights, he looks fantastic, but it's all, will he be able to start to get more consistent? You know, and at this point, it's hard to tell. Now he had Max Duggan as his quarterback, and that's not great.
Looks like Jared agrees with you. He said Johnston as well.
You know, is he going to be able to? You know, he's like the opposite of Rashee Rice. Like, he's 6'3" and 209 or 212 or something, and he plays like he's 5'10.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. Peter, what about you? The guy that you think is going to tumble a little bit once we see their NFL draft capital?
So, hot take.
Oh, okay. All right, I'm ready for it.
Zay Flowers.
You really don't like Zay Flowers, do you?
I do not like Zay Flowers. I cut up 4 games of his today. Okay, Jared, shut up. That's one of my most embarrassing takes. I was super high on Kennedy Brooks last year, and
You were really high on him.
But he was the only. I remember messaging you, Dennis, and being like, "I think I like Kennedy Brooks better than Brian Robinson," and I changed my mind, but I tried to delete that. But he was the only rookie running back in the Super Bowl. But
I don't think it counts if he doesn't dress.
It did. Okay. But so when I was watching, I watched 4 of his games over and over again because I cut it up first and then I put the labels over him. And he's very fast. But if I'm an NFL coach, I can scheme this guy out pretty easily. At least I think so. Projecting to the next level. A lot of his big plays and his stats come on broken plays. And he's smaller.
Pete coaches a couple years of flag football, and now he's taking Zay Flowers out of the game.
I'm taking you.
Hey, I would take him on my flag, but we've his Clemson game, like the cornerback, most of the time. I mean, there were multiple times he got pushed into just out of bounds. Just and
Peter, that's actually a great point. And in the little bit of tape that I've watched of him, that is one of my biggest concerns with Zay Flowers is he can get knocked off his routes very easily. Yeah. Like he gets disrupted very easily by contact. So that's actually a very good point.
So I don't know. I hope I really like him. And honestly, if a player like him if he succeeds, it's really fun for fantasy football. But I think it might be another kind of like speedy guy that we kind of fall in love with that just kind of surprises us with him going later in the second or third. I don't think he'll go top 20, top 30.
Yeah, I wouldn't be shocked if there only ends up being one guy that goes in the first round and it ends up being JSN. It would not shock me. Now, could Johnston, could Addison, could Flowers. They're all in the realm of possibility. But I for sure don't think we see anybody else in the top 20. I think JSN, and then another guy or two sneaks in there. But the guy for me that I think could take a bit of a tumble, and I had a couple guys in mind here, and I keep kind of bouncing back and forth on who I want to take as far as like who I think will fall a little bit in the draft. But I'm gonna go with Zach Evans. And he's a bit of a wild card because he could end up all over the map. But I think that there's a lot of question marks around his game. I think the thing that makes people really enamored with him is he does have the good pedigree, and you see like the highlight plays. But when you watch him down in and down out, there's a lot of real bad inconsistencies. And if I want a bigger back, first of all, he didn't weigh in as a bigger back. He weighed in at, what was it, like 201 or something ridiculous like that? Like we thought he was going to be around 215. He weighed in so much lower than we thought. So now I don't know if teams are going to view him as one of the bigger backs. And if they wanted one, there's other guys like Charbonnet and Roshan Johnson, Tank Bigsby that are all bigger backs that could all go. Even Abanikanda. I'm not a big fan of his, but I mean, what's stopping a team from taking him? He's got just as good of size, actually better size than Zach Evans. So I think the things that were appealing about him just aren't enough. And so I think we were, talking about him as a 3rd round pick, but I don't think there's anything stopping him from tumbling into the 4th or 5th round. It wouldn't shock me in the least if that happens. So he's the guy that I'm going to kind of peg as someone that falls down the boards a little bit. So let me tell you guys something else that the old boys at Better Sports Network wanted me to tell you. And I think it's pretty great because it involves me. Thursday night is fantasy football night on Better Sports Network at 6 p.m. Quick Outs fantasy football with Andrew Cooper and John
Mpemba.
Mpemba? Thank you.
Yep.
I was like, I knew I was going to get that wrong. 7 p.m. high stakes fantasy football with Eric Balkman of FFPC. And at 9 p.m. right here with yours truly, Dynasty Nerds, 9 p.m. Eastern to 11 o'clock each and every week. From NFL free agency and trades to NFL draft, plus dynasty leagues and best ball strategy, hear the best fantasy football analyst on bettersports.com, the Better Sports Network app, and streaming everywhere on social media at Better Network. That's right. That's your boys right here on the Better Network. Okay.
Woo.
So man, I'm so excited for the draft. That's like, I do other things in life, and then I just come back to, the draft's in 2 weeks. Like, literally, like, I'll be like at work and I'll be like, oh man, I wonder who so-and-so is going to take. Or I'll be like driving the girls to school and I'll be like, man, I bet that guy's going to tumble. Like, it's bad. I have a very obsessive personality, and it's really playing into it. Let's touch real quick again on these receivers, because we're talking about how they could fall in this draft. And actually, you know what? Before I say that, I saw Dan's question and I wanted to get to it. So let's get to it now real quickly, and then we'll get to this. Yes, do you guys feel like Jordan Love is worth a 23 or 24 first-round pick? I'm in a 12-team Superflex tight end premium league. For me, if it is a late 24 first, I would be willing to take that gamble on Jordan Love. What say you guys?
Also, it's involved in a trade that he just posted.
Okay.
But I would take him over Hendon Hooker.
Okay. Yeah.
So probably that 110, 112 if I need a quarterback. But yeah, mid to late 24 first. That's my value on him.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. I think Love has some athletic ability, and he looked much better last year in spot play. And so I think he's shown the Packers enough that they're comfortable moving on from Aaron Rodgers. And so we have to, at some point, we got to believe what they're telling us, right?
Right.
Yep.
And they're saying, we're ready to be done with Aaron and go to this other guy we drafted. So to me, I think he's probably worth that too.
Okay. All right. Let's go back to what I was going to ask. This wide receiver class. First of all, do we all have JSN as our number one, or do one of you guys have someone else?
He's my one.
It's not close.
Okay. All right. So we're in unison there. JSN, top receiver in this class. Who's then your 2 through 5 in order? Because I feel like for almost every person I've talked to, it's very, very different. So, Dennis, let's start with you. Who would you have fantasy-wise 2 through 5?
Well, I'm not really putting them in order. I'm tiering them right now. I actually just started an article tiering the top 50 rookies last night. And so I have Flowers, Addison, Downs as my next tier, and then Quentin Johnston, Jalen Hyatt, Cedric Tillman in the tier after that.
Okay. So if you had to choose though today, obviously those three would be somewhere 2 through 4. Who would be that one in that next tier? Would it be Tillman? Would it be Johnston? Who would take that 5th spot?
So I've been tiering them, and
you got to answer the question, Dennis. You can't get around it.
It's quickly turning into Tillman for me.
Okay.
I think that, going into the last week or so, I think it's been Johnston. To me right now, I think Tillman is overtaking him.
All right. What about you, Peter?
I hate this list.
Why?
Put them in tiers.
My list.
Oh, you hate your own list.
I would hate the tiers because it's so counter against what I thought I would be.
Okay.
But Addison, Downs, Hyatt, Flowers, Mingo.
Okay, so with that, Mingo would actually be 6 then for you, right? Did I count correctly? Because JSN is 1.
Correct.
Okay, so you gave us a bonus. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yep. Well, I also wanted to show that Johnston He's 7.
He's 7. All right. So it's funny because I thought when we hopped on the air last night and I don't want to say tore Johnston to threads, but we weren't kind to him on the podcast. I thought we were going to get a lot more pushback than we've received so far. And I think a lot of people are coming to some of the same conclusions that maybe he's not that guy like we thought he originally was, which is really interesting because when I put these, tiers together for us to do for the podcast, I put him as the first guy to talk about because it seemed like the majority of the people had him as their top receiver, but it was really close with him and JSN. Now it's gotten to the point where it's almost completely, especially in the fantasy space, maybe not the NFL space, but in the fantasy space where it's almost unanimous now, Jackson Smith-Njigba is the guy. And I think, Peter, you said it this way, and it seems like Culture Coach, you seem this way as well. I don't think it's really that close. I think he stands head and shoulders above every other receiver in this class. So for me, if I had to do it the second, and I don't love doing this because I haven't done my deep dives on a few of these guys, so this could change as soon as Tuesday. But if I had to do it right now, it would be Jackson Smith-Njigba. Then it would go Josh Downs, Jordan Addison, and then Cedric Tillman, and then Zay Flowers is what it would be for me right now.
I have a really hard time trying to figure out if Downs or Addison is my wide receiver too. I love Downs.
I love Josh Downs a lot too. They're similar build, or I shouldn't say build. They're similar size, but I love the way that Josh Downs is built, and somebody that is surprisingly good at contested catches, surprisingly good at contested catches. But all of that being said, I talked about it once again on the Nerds Pod last night. If these two classes were combined, as of right now, there would only be one receiver in this class, grade-wise, in the top 12. The next one wouldn't be until number 13, and that's Jordan Addison. So that means, because you're removing Jackson Smith-Njigba and him, that means there are 11 other receivers from last year's class that I would take ahead of the number 2 receiver in this class. That's crazy. And I get it. Last year was a good wide receiver class. But I think this shows also how unexciting the top end of this class is.
It's just crazy how last year you're like, well, it's only your 2022 picks for 23 picks because this class is going to be awesome. And then I look back and I'm like, what have I done?
I wish I could have some of those receiver picks back.
Man.
But that's every year, though. I mean, we're always looking 2 years down the road saying, oh, that's going to be the year.
It's not going to be next year. Next year will be really good. I promise.
Fool me once.
Top few guys look pretty good. We'll see after that. I'm not convinced after the first 3 or 4 guys that next year's is going to be that good. We'll see. Maybe it will be. You never know who's going to come out of the woodwork and really become that guy. But it's definitely interesting. And then real quick, we've only got about 4 minutes or so left. But running back wise, we all have Bijan at 1. Then give me your running backs 2 through 5, Dennis.
So I have Gibbs and Charbonnet. Let's see. Wait a minute. I had Gibbs in tier 2, my only running back there. Charbonnet, Spears, Bigsby in tier 3.
Nice.
So
I like that. All right, Peter.
Gibbs, Spears, Charbonnet. That's 4, right? Apparently I can't count. Yep. So, and then Tank.
Nice. All right. And for me, it ended up being Bijan Robinson at 1. I still have not made a determination between 2 and 3 with Spears and Gibbs. I'm that close between the 2 of those guys.
It's very close.
And then at 4, Tank Bigsby, and 5, Zach Charbonnet. All right. So we are wrapping up here. We will be back next week. Next week, I still need to go over some of the details, but next week might be a little bit different. We are a week away from the NFL draft next week, and I believe I need to check on some details. I'll let you guys know for sure, but I believe that we are going to be partnering up next week with FFPC and Eric Balkman right before, and we're basically, him and I together are going to do a 4-hour show previewing the NFL draft. So we'll basically be going from 7 to 11. Dennis, we're still going to have you on at some point, but that's the tentative plan as of right now. So we're gonna be blowing it up next week. It'll be pretty big. We'll be getting the details as we go. It's still a little bit up in the air. I got to check on some things with him, but we are going to be talking all things NFL draft, not just from a fantasy football perspective, but even from an NFL perspective. Dennis, you're smirking over there.
I just saw Tyler's note. Seems like he wasn't aware of that.
We got a whole week. That's plenty of time. So yeah, we'll be talking NFL draft. I'm sure we will be mocking some things. We will be sorry, Tyler. We'll talk about it. But we'll be mocking some things. We'll be talking about the different prospects, who we like, who we don't like, team needs, different things like that. Real quick, Peter, tell the good folks where they can find you on the socials and what you are up to.
Well, I'm up to just a bunch of random stuff. You can find me at Pete Bartausky, Bartausky. I post when I want to. I don't usually post because I'm busy posting stuff at Dynasty Nerds.
There you go.
Doing their reels and YouTube and all that stuff, and just working with you to find gentlemen.
That's right.
And doing mock drafts.
And lots of mock drafts.
Yep.
Dennis, what about you, my man?
Well, besides being here on Thursday nights, I'm on this Twitter sphere at culture_coach. Pete and I do the trade show Tuesday night in the Dynasty Nerds Discord, 9 p.m. And then Mondays and Fridays, I'm on the Fantasy Football Roundtable podcast. Give us a follow. Check us out. We do 2 shows a week all year long.
2 shows a year.
Ooh, commitment.
So come up because you're not getting much. No, 2 shows a week. Dennis, you're a busy man. You are a busy man.
I'll try.
All right, and
thanks, Dan.
You can find me on Twitter at Dynasty Price. This time of year, talking a lot of prospects. I didn't talk a lot last week, but I was on vacation. I was in Florida, did the Disney thing with the girls and the Universal Studios stuff. Actually, it was Islands of Adventure, but part of Universal Studios, the beach, all that kind of stuff. So I didn't post a lot last week, but post a lot this time of year about the NFL draft. Nerd Score coming out soon, Monday 24th. We're going to be launching that live on YouTube, talking about all of our Nerd Scores. That's breaking down these prospects, talking exactly how we feel about them. Myself, Jared Wackerly, you are not going to want to miss that. For myself, for Dennis, for Pete, for Tyler behind the scenes, we will see you guys again next week.